Hello world, my name's Garrett Broughton, and today I'm going to talk about music theory. Continuing on from a previous lesson of Music Theory 1, this will be the second session. I'll probably make 5 of these videos, and in case you're wondering, I rotate through many different topics. I talk about music, piano, learning the piano, and singing, and this one is really about theory. So why theory? Well, theory is the fundamentals if you're learning to read music, play music, create, compose your own. It's like the grammar of English. It's the language. So this one is a session 2. I'll probably have 5 sessions. Let's get started. So what I would actually recommend you do is I'm going to summarize a series from an instructor by the name of Andrew Furmanzik, and he does a much better job. So if you find the summary interesting, I encourage you to go to his channel and check out his videos. Basically, what I'm doing today is going to share with you what I've learned and hopefully just summarize it and get you to the proper information. So what I did before was covered the first videos, and now I'm going to cover approximately 6 through 16. So I'll cover about 10 different videos, and they're about 10 to 20 minutes a piece. That's generally a good segment to learn. And so let's go with lessons 6 through 16. So I'll start with, we'll talk about dotted notes and triplets, time signatures, strong and weak beats, semitones and whole tones, chromatic, diatonic, and inharmonic tones, major scale, minor scale, natural and harmonic, melodic and relative minor, order of sharps and flats, key signatures, circle of fifths, and basic intervals. So that's basically, there's not really a particular order to learn music theory, but some of you have to skip around. What I did is I actually listened to 15 of them and then just picked up whatever I made sense to me, and then I repeated those videos over and over and over. That way it was started to sink in. Some of them I didn't quite understand, but the other ones I did, and that's what I'd like to explain today. So let's start. First of all, this is lesson number 6 of his session, and I thought about actually creating my own notes in there, but I ran out of time, so I just threw in his presentation, which I've referenced also down below. So let's talk about some of these concepts. So dotted notes is basically 50% added onto another note. So if you want to know note values, go back to the first lesson, and you'll have 16th notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, half notes, whole notes, and you'll see the symbol. So for example, this one here is a half note. That's 2 beats. If you want to get a dotted half note, you add 50%. So that's 3 beats. So as you can see here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And you can do the same thing with rest. So here's a half rest, and here's a dotted half rest, and you rest for 3 beats. Here's a quarter, and then a dotted quarter, so you add, so that's a beat and a half. Or here's a rest and a dotted half or dotted quarter rest. Same thing with a whole note, that's 4, or actual 6 beats. You just add 50%. So that's a dotted note. Triplets. So triplets is a way to basically compress 3 notes into the size of a different value. So for example, this is like a math equation. Here you have 2 quarter notes, or sorry, 2 eighth notes, and what we're going to represent here is 3 beats equal that 2 eighths. You could put a 3 on the top, or you could put a 3 on the bottom. And you can also represent it this way. So this here is 2 eighth notes, this is a quarter note. So 3 eighth notes could equal a quarter note. So they're basically just splitting it up and equaling a different value. So you could do the same thing here. 3 quarter notes equal a half note, or 3 half notes equal a whole note. And then they gave the representation here. It's blueberry, blueberry. And you get the idea. So blueberry equals 1 quarter note. Okay? So if you want to learn more, go into his lesson. It's much more in depth and helpful. But once you get the concept, then you can kind of move on. Okay, semitones and whole tones. So a semitone is basically a half note, and a whole tone is moving up 2 notes. So the keyboard is a perfect example here. Here, you have a note and you go up a sharp or flat, that's a semitone, and then you go down, or sorry, you can keep going up a note, and that's another semitone. Or you go from one note over to the other note, you're actually going up two semitones, and that's a whole note. And then right in between here, you don't have a sharp or flat, so that's a semitone. So a semitone is going up or down a note, and a whole tone is going up too. Okay, over here, this is how you represent flat, sharp, and natural. So a flat is going down, or on a keyboard, it's going left. And a sharp is going right on the keyboard, or on other instruments going up. And a natural cancels out. So if you imagine a bar that you have a sharp or flat, the next, if it's an A, and you also have an A, there won't be a sharp or flat sign, but it will be sharp or flat. If you want it to be a natural, you put the natural sign in that cancels out the sharp or flat. Okay, let's go on to chromatic and diatonic and harmonic tones. Here what you have is chromatic and diatonic mean the same note represented differently. So over here you have a A note and an A sharp. Okay, so A and A sharp. Over here it's the same note, but it's shown differently on sheet music, but you play the same note on the keyboard. So you have A, you would be playing an A sharp, but here it's showing a B flat. Okay? So same note, B flat, your B, you go down, that's B flat. And then here, A sharp. But as you can see, it's the same note. It's just represented the same versus different. Okay, major scales. So major scales are something that you want to play when you're just starting out, and that's what he has shown here is a C, an F, and a G major scale. And those are your basic scales. Just when you're warming up, that's something you can play. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then back down. And what you do is you go through your tones and semitones. So it's tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. That you see here, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. You can also show it as T squared, semitone, T cubed, semitone. So as you can see, there's sort of math involved here. It makes it really easy to translate if you're a math person. So same thing here. And also you have what's called a slur, and those help tie in the sharps or the flats. So you actually see that is what makes your semitone. So you have tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And then same thing here. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone. And then there's your sharp. So these are major scales. Okay, let's keep going to minor scale. Here's your major scale again, but minor scale, you have different types. You have natural, harmonic, and melodic. And these are, if you think of major, they're usually happy and they go up. Minor scales are more sad and they go down. And the difference here is where you place the semitones and the tones. And you can notice here with harmonic, you have a half tone. And then your semitones are earlier on. So you have tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. So that's how you distinguish the difference between major and minor. Okay, order of sharps and flats and key signatures. All right, this is a phrase that you want to memorize backwards and forwards. It's similar to when you're naming your sheet music, like every boy deserves good fudge, memorizing the notes on the line. You want to memorize this because when you translate it into sharps and flats on reading a key signature, it'll become very natural to you. You won't have to think about it. It's like learning your friends and family names. You don't even think about it because once you know it, it's just natural. So at first, it takes a few times to sink in, and then after that, then you just easily read it like reading a book. So for example, the sharps are Father Charles goes down and ends battle. You want to repeat that several times to memorize it. And then you reverse it, battle ends and down goes Charles' father. And that's your flats. And it's easy to remember the flats because battle starts with B, and B is the picture of a flat. So let's see how that works here. So if you're reading sheet music and you see all the sharps on here, you can see battle ends and, Father Charles goes down and ends battle. If you just have 3, say for example, it would be Father Charles goes, or Father Charles. Just depends on how many sharps you have. Same thing with the bass clef, and you can see it goes from left to right. Then over on the flats, same thing, but in reverse order. So battle ends and down goes Charles' father. Battle ends and down goes Charles' father. So backwards and forwards. So if you see this on the sheet music, you'll remember by those saying. Okay, let's go on to circle of fifths. The circle of fifths is think of it as a key to translate the relations in music. So for example, you have E flat minor, G flat major, and C flat. So I'm still learning this process on how it works, and what you should really do is practice drawing this out 50 to 100 times, and once you start to memorize it, then you can use that key in your mind to translate while you're reading music. Now this is a good starting point to start to understand it, and as I practice through it, I'll begin to learn more. But I can tell you kind of how it works and then reference his video to learn more about it. So it's 6 steps, and so let's walk you through it. And he's even color-coded so you kind of know the steps. So the first step is to draw your circle, and then you have C major up at the top, and then you have A flat minor and A sharp minor down at the bottom, and then you have C flat major and C sharp major down at the bottom. So these are your stopping and starting points. Then over here on the right, you'll have all sharps, and over on the left, you have all flats. So step number 1 is draw the circle. Step number 2 is you work your way out. So you start with here and you do the sharps. So Father Charles goes down and ends battle. So that's step number 2. Number 3, you work your way in. Father Charles goes down and then you stop, because you stop at these dial points. That's step number 3. Then number 4, Father Charles goes down and ends battle. Step number 4. Step number 5, battle ends and down goes Charles. Then you stop. Then reach the flat side, and then 2 more. Number 6, Father Charles goes down and ends battle. And then step number 7, battle ends and down goes Charles' father. And then now your key signature, or you can look at all the relatives, majors and minors. Okay? All right, so the next one, as I had mentioned earlier, I went through a number of 10 videos, and some of them I didn't quite grasp right away, but I referenced them here in case you want to look at them. So I'm going to skip these for now, and I'll come back to them at a later point once I know more about it. So there's key of music, and I've referenced those in red. And up here we have upbeat or pickup beats. So this one is a way to start your music, and it's generally just a note. So in this example we have 3/4 time, and then over here there's supposed to be 3 beats, but they've actually taken this beat and moved it over and used it as an upbeat or a pickup beat. So you have 3, and then 1 2 3 1 2. So this is a quarter note taken from over here. Here's a few more examples. So here's what's called a tie. You basically play this as 1 note, but you have your pickup beat. And then this one here, you actually don't need the rest, but here's an example of take a quarter note, or sorry, an 8th note. Somewhere there, and here's another practice one. So a quarter note there. Okay, now basic intervals. So intervals are like semitones and whole tones. It's basically how far apart are the notes. So here, for example, you have first, second, third. So first, the first interval is the same note. Second interval is 1 note apart, up or down. Third note you're actually going to be 2 notes apart. So if you go here, we'll say 6, you actually count the notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Count the notes on both sides. And then you get up to 9 as a full octave from top to bottom. So here's a couple tricks to remember. Odd are from space to space or line to line. So it's even. Or sorry, it's odd. So you have a space in between or you have a line in between. And then even are different. So you one right next to each other, a space or a line and a space, just like this, line or space. Okay, and then let's talk about harmonic. This is where you play notes together, and melodic is where notes are separated. That's pretty simple. Okay, so we have intermediate intervals and advanced intervals, which I won't talk about right now. Then there's major and minor triads, which I'll come back to these later, and then scale degrees, which are very helpful. So here's some practice that you can do. So watch all the videos and relearn them, and if this is your style, you can practice or go to his channel and practice his style, and just find an instructor that's really, really helpful for you, one that you can listen to that's not annoying, that is pitch your style, and just repeat it until you start to understand it, and draw it out and practice it. And you can do it 50 times, 100 times, however many times it takes. It may take you a week or 2 weeks to understand each lesson. So that summarizes everything. Look, here's the channel that you can go to get more information. And I hope to continue on to give you a few more series as I learn it, and anything that I learn I'll share on the channel. Thanks for listening.